A murder has been committed. All suspects are lined up. The business partner who would claim the business once he dies. The son who would inherit all his estates. Or is it the man he just fired a couple days ago? Very interesting. Who could it be? The murder mystery genre. One of the most interesting genres of all times. Hello, extremely intelligent lambs, and welcome back to the Movie Net Reviewer. I'll be your host today, Peter Wary. And today's topic will be on murder mysteries. Let's get started. For those who saw my last video, I talked about the person of Peter Wary and how he really likes murder mysteries. Today I will be ranking my top 10 favorite murder mystery movies and telling you guys a little bit about them. Due to this being a murder mystery, I will try my best not to go into any spoilers about these, because one of the best parts about murder mysteries are the fact that you don't know who did it. So, without further ado, let's pick up our magnifying glass, put on our hats, let's get started. Number 10, The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes. The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes. As with the movie Tolkien, I watched this movie after giving a speech on the story of the Loch Ness Monster. So, I won't go into spoilers about this, but I will say that it has the Loch Ness Monster in it. It's a very interesting version of Sherlock Holmes. Very classic, very good version. Put at the lowest part of my list just because there's other mystery movies I like more. But overall, it's a pretty good, enjoyable watch. If you haven't checked this one out, please do. The characters. Just before starting to record this video, I looked up the movie and I completely forgot that it has Christopher Lee in this movie, which I'm like, that's really cool. Yeah, the cast is pretty good. It does a really good job with just being Sherlock. It's a good Sherlock Holmes movie. Okay, let's go on. Number 9, Sherlock Holmes and the Golden Ruler. Now, this is a movie I wanted to put on mainly for the reason that this is actually how I was introduced to Sherlock Holmes at first, was through this movie. It's a newer VeggieTales movie, but it's pretty good. For those who don't know what VeggieTales is, it's a Christian program that was, like, I believe started in the 90s, and it has these talking vegetables teaching life lessons from the Bible, and just overall, I think this one is the importance of not putting yourself so much above other people, and actually seeing how other people help you in the long run and all, and how basically Sherlock Holmes, played by Larry the Cucumber, is bragging about how good he is of a detective, but through the whole movie you're seeing how it's actually the character of Dr. Watson, played by Bob the Tomato, that is actually truly like solving these crimes, and just Sherlock Holmes is getting all the credit. And basically there's the whole falling out, and and Sherlock Holmes has to figure out that actually, yeah, he needs Dr. Watson to help him solve these crimes, because he's actually not as good at it as he thinks. Pretty simple story, very enjoyable story. I will go into another video talking about my top 10 favorite VeggieTales movies, because I really want to talk about VeggieTales because it's a really fun story. It's a kid's thing, but for those who haven't seen VeggieTales, I would recommend you guys check this one out, but I'll also just recommend that you check out some of the other VeggieTales. I'll link in the description to some VeggieTales stuff, because VeggieTales is awesome. It's enjoyable, especially the really old VeggieTales movies. Number 8, Clue. Clue, for most of you probably can guess, is based off of the board game Clue, and it's a really enjoyable movie. It's everything you would get out of a movie about Clue. A lot of people say that board games and video game movies can never be good. This is an example of a time they actually did do a good job, and I think this is one of the first examples of doing a good job with making a adaptation of a board game. One of the best parts about this, I'm not going to go into spoilers, but the ending of this, for those who haven't seen it, it's really enjoyable. I'll just make sure you understand. I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm going to... Once the ending happens, do not immediately turn off your TV or something. Wait through the credits, because you'll see when you watch it. It's a very interesting movie. Very funny, but also, pretty good. I think the acting in this movie is also pretty funny, and overall, it reminds me a lot of Clue, and that's what it was supposed to do. Number 7, Death on the Nile. Death on the Nile is a movie I actually, when I saw the trailer for it, I was the first time I ever wanted to watch it because it really got my attention. I was planning on watching the first one, Murder on the Orient Express. I haven't watched the really old versions of these movies, but the versions I've seen, I'm going to talk about the Murder on the Orient Express later on, but this movie of The Death on the Nile is really good. It's not perfect, but I really enjoy it. I think the best part about these movies, the new versions, are the visuals. If you ask my opinion on one movie that's worth getting in 4K, I would say Murder on the Oriental Express is probably the one I would say, because that or The Lord of the Rings, because those are both very visual. And this one's really good too. I think the visuals weren't as stunning for me, mainly because I was going in remembering the first movie and like how visually awesome that was. And this one's really good too, especially because it's set in Egypt. And little thing about me is I am very much into ancient Egypt, so it was very interesting to see that. I even know how to read some hieroglyphics. It's just a passion of mine. But overall, I really like this movie. The murder aspect of it is good too. I wouldn't say this is the best for the murder thing. There's more like different side things that's going on too that puts it up close to the top, but it's good. It's just not perfect. So if you haven't seen this movie yet, I strongly recommend you guys check it out. It's a pretty good cast. Everyone in this movie does a pretty good job with it, and the murder, I did not see it happening the way it did, and it was good. Yeah, it was a very strong movie. Number 6, Zodiac. This is another one that makes sense. I've talked about this before. I haven't talked about it directly in a video, but I did mention it. That is the story of the Zodiac. The movie Zodiac is a very interesting movie. It does a pretty good job. Coming from the point that the Zodiac was never caught, this movie had to pick someone who could have been the Zodiac killer and go off of him. So after watching that movie, I went through and tried to learn as much as I can about that person, because I'm like, maybe he was the Zodiac killer. I don't think he was, but it's very interesting. This movie does a really good job with the suspense and all, and it's definitely does a good job with telling the story of the Zodiac killer and giving justice to some of his victims by addressing the whole problem with the Zodiac killer. But anyways, this movie is really good. It has a pretty good cast in it. I believe it has Robert Downey Jr. in it and a couple of other actors. I think Mark Ruffalo's in here too. It's a pretty good stacked cast. It's enjoyable to watch. I believe it's rated PG-13, so it's not very violent, because I think most of the deaths happen off screen. It's more just showing it from the police side of the situation. Very good movie. If you haven't seen it yet, please, it would be great to check it out. Number 5, Seven. For those who don't know, Seven is a movie about two detectives trying to solve this murder chain going on by the serial killer who is killing in each victim in the way of the 7 deadly sins, which are pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. So he's going through and he's trying to he's murdering people in the ways like, he kills someone in a way that makes it seem like he literally, like, he forced them to eat so much food that they died of, like, eating too much food for gluttony. He killed someone using, like, I believe, like, coins or something like that for greed. Overall, you get the point. Each of those different ones, he did different ways of killing them that represents each of the deadly sins. It's a really good movie. The ending especially is very interesting and good. The cast is awesome. If you guys haven't watched this one yet, please check it out. It's really good. Very interesting movie. And I don't think you'll see what's coming when it comes. Number 4. Murder on the Orient Express. Murder on the Orient Express, as I talked about with Murder on the Nile, this movie is awesome. Again, as I said before, I would recommend that this is a movie that's worth seeing in 4K. It's really visually awesome. This is probably on my list of movies that I wish I saw in theaters because it's good. All the characters in it are good. The acting is good. The twist at the end of who killed who committed the murder is good. Overall, the story is really, really good. It's set on a train, which, like, going through, like, snowy mountains and all, so it's, like, extra cool. I won't go into spoilers about it, but yeah, basically they get stuck in a train for, like, a couple days, I believe it is. And while on this train, this murder happens to a certain character in the movie. I won't spoil who. And so suddenly, this detective on the train has to solve who is the murderer. And the end up of who it is will very much shock you. It's very good. So if you haven't seen this one yet, I strongly recommend that you check it out. If you want to just watch the original version of this, you can, but I would just say that this version is visually stunning. It looks so beautiful with the snow and all that kind of stuff. It's awesome. Number 3, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. I'm going to put out a video soon just reacting to this movie in general, but this movie's awesome. If you haven't seen it yet, you watch it. It's really, really good. And especially it's good because it, as a follow-up to Knives Out, I was expecting it to avert expectations. And as I've heard people talk about this movie before, this movie is a really good job at averting expectations. I don't want to go into spoilers, but this movie is really, really good. The twist in this movie is really good. Again, it's a murder mystery, so there is a murder in it. Overall, the cast is stacked on this movie. All the cast does a really good job. It's set in Greece, so it's really, like, stunning, as with the last video too, being also stunning. This one's really, like, I wouldn't say this is as much stunning as with the last one, but this one is really good. As a follow-up to Knives Out, it does a really good job, not just with averting expectations, but also with just being a good solo film too. It stands on its own. You don't have to watch the original to really get it. If you watch the original, you will know a couple of the characters before watching this. The cameos in this movie is awesome. The person who actually does the murder is really good. You guys probably have seen the meme going around of, overall, if you haven't seen this movie yet, it's good. It's not perfect, especially with the beginning. Again, I'll go into a video talking about this. The last 2/3 of it is good, really good. The first act has its problems. I won't go into it here, but it kept this movie from being my number 1 or number 2 based on that beginning. I'll explain in another video about this, but it's good, not great, just good. And if you haven't seen it yet, please check it out. It's really good, and it's a great follow-up to Knives Out. Number 2, The Batman. I'll have to keep this one brief because, again, I've talked about this a lot, and you can just look at my other videos about this because I've really gone into more detail, but I'm going to talk about this again, but I'm mainly just going to be talking about the murder mystery part of it. This movie's awesome when it comes to the murder. It does a great nod to the Zodiac killer. The villain in it is good. It does a great job being a superhero and a murder mystery at the same time. I will say that the superhero probably outweighs the murder mystery part of it, but overall, it tries its best to be a good murder mystery. It has some nice twists and turns. The location where this is all taking place really is a very strong part of what makes this movie good. Gotham it just seems like a place that where this could happen. They do a really good job with Gotham. The Riddler, again, is really good, as I talked about before. Batman, as the detective, he's good. He's just not the best detective. And I feel like that's a problem you have to run into when you're dealing with murder mysteries, is that you have the problem of, if the detectives were too good, people would solve the mystery way too quickly. The movie would be done in like 10 minutes, right? The murder would happen, the detective would solve the mystery. A lot of times with those murder mysteries, they have it so the murder happens a little bit into the movie, but that's beside the point. So let's just say if it happens close to the second act, and that's what kicks off the second act is the murder. So that's about 20 minutes in, so the movie would be a total of, like, let's just say 22 minutes. Because the person just like, oh, this is how it happens. There's actually a moment in The Glass Onion where they do have a moment of the detective solves the mystery way too quickly. And it's kind of funny for a joke. But the point is, in movies you have to make the detective dumb enough. Even with Sherlock Holmes, what they do is they make it so he overlooks something. A lot of times what they do with these type of things, they overlook something and they don't realize something. And that's how the murder is able to go on for eternity, right? Or in some movies, like with Death on the Nile, there's more than one murder, so every single time he's almost about to solve it, it happens again. Another murder happens again, he has to solve that murder too, and it's just getting more chaos. So that's one way you can do it. I'll go into a video talking about how to not make your detective stupid while still making sure you can have a 2-hour-long movie without having to make a really stupid detective. So overall, back on to talking about the Batman. He's not the greatest detective yet. I think this is going to be a series where he's going to eventually become a really good detective. But right now, he's fun to watch. The murders in this movie is interesting. It's good. It's a very interesting movie. I'm not going to spoil anything about this, but this is what I was saying before about how most murder mysteries, the murder happens in the second act. This murder actually happens in the very opening scene of the movie. It comes straight out of the boom. And the first scene of Batman, almost the first scene of Batman, is him having to go to the crime scene and help to solve this murder. So the movie literally just kicks off a murder. So I will talk about how great that intro is eventually, because it's the intro of the Batman is really good. But as it goes for the murders, it's an awesome goose hunt of trying to figure out all this stuff, and I love it how this movie does a great job with, as he's figuring out more about this mystery and solving the mystery of who is the Riddler, he's also figuring out stuff about his parents. He's like that his father wasn't as good of a guy as he thinks, all this type of stuff. So it really like strong. It really like sets up stuff for the sequels, but it also does a good job like giving the character of Bruce Wayne some closure on his parents and stuff like that. So I really like that. If you haven't seen this movie yet, please check it out. It's really, really good. The acting's awesome. I talked about it in a different video about what I think of this movie, but right now, that's what I think. It's really good. It's very close second, but number one would be Knives Out. I think what's crazy about this being number one is that it was created as a dissection of the murder mystery. Director Rian Johnson was trying his best to put expectations and make this murder mystery. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything about this murder mystery because it's awesome. But the fact of the matter is, this is so many twists and turns, and you would think it would destroy the movie. And I had a hard time putting it on top because I'm like, can we even put a murder mystery that's not actually a murder mystery on top? But the fact of the matter is, it is a murder mystery. But what it does is it breaks down the murder mystery genre, and then it adverts your expectations on what you think. This turning this murder mystery into a, for those of you who've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into spoilers again. So overall, it's good. I really like it. Has some awesome twists and turns. You won't see some of this stuff coming, but you also will. I think that I kind of saw what happens at the end coming before I even watched the movie, based on just, it had to be that way, kind of. But it didn't destroy the twist at the end. It's really good. If you haven't watched this one yet, please check it out. It's so good. This is how you make a murder mystery movie. They're supposed to be dissecting the murder mystery, but it also becomes such a great murder mystery in the end, with its inverted expectations again. It's really, really, really good. It's one of those movies that you might like it the first time around, but when you watch it again and again and again, the more you pick up on the interesting clues you didn't see before. It's really good. If you guys haven't seen it yet, again, please check it out. It's really good. Okay, so that's my list. Tell me what you think, right? Is there any ones I didn't mention that you guys really like? Again, they're awesome movies I haven't seen. As I check out more of the murder mystery movies, this list would definitely probably change. Tell me, again, any videos you want to see in the comments. I would love to make videos that you guys recommend, because, this channel is not just for me, this channel is also for you guys, and I would love to be able to talk about something you guys want to hear about. If you disagree, or if you, really hate any of these movies on my list, you can mention in the comments. You can explain why you don't like these movies. Again, be nice about it, as I said in other videos, but please feel free to comment it. I want to hear your criticisms. I like hearing when movies that I like get torn apart and people try to say why it's terrible, because then it's like, oh, maybe I didn't think of that, or maybe I don't think you understand it. I don't think you understand where this movie's coming from, what this movie's about. I know the first time I showed my dad Knives Out, he was like, do I like it or do I not? Even I was the same way when I first watched it. That's what makes Knives Out such a good movie, is that, do you like it when you watch the movie? Just like with Glass Onion, when you watch the movie, you don't know if you like it or you don't. If you like it or you don't like it, until you really get some time to sit with it. So, again, I would love to hear your criticisms, right? People don't like Knives Out, again, for the reason that it is not quite a murder mystery as some other ones are. But I would love to hear you guys' comments on what murder mysteries you guys think should be on this list. If you don't like any of these ones, and again, as I said before, if you want to see more videos like this, I strongly recommend that you guys subscribe. I talked about this in the last video. We're going to do a very special surprise at 1,000 subscribers. So try to reach that. Try to share with your friends so we can reach it. We're gonna have a lot of fun when we are able to reach more people. The more people we reach, the more creative minds we can spark. The more people we can help see the importance of making good movies and TV shows nowadays, and not just making stuff that people will like at that one moment. Again, I'll go into another video. This is gonna be way later on when I talk about the importance of making movies that are gonna last and not just be for the moment. So again, if you guys haven't yet, please subscribe, please share with your friends, like the video. I thank you all for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Overall, this has been the Movie Night Review. Peter Way, signing off.